if you want to start, you can go ahead and we'll let people in as they come if they're coming later.
That's perfect. Sorry. Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Horizon's second webinar. So this webinar is part of a bigger series that we're holding at Horizons. Every week we're having a webinar that will feature a different topic related to first year transition and hopefully give some important information for all of the incoming first years. This week, our topic will be student life. So that will be, we understand that student life may look a little bit different this year, especially with the fall semester being online. So we're hoping that we could talk about some important topics that you may all have currently been thinking about. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, we will be having a Q&A session at the end, but definitely send your questions to Callistra through the chat function, and then we'll answer them in the Q&A session at the end. If we don't get to all your questions at the end, then feel free to message us through any of our social media accounts. So that's through email, Instagram, or Facebook. So before getting started into the student life portion of our webinar, I'll invite our coordinator, Nagar, to give us a little bit an introduction to Horizons and some cool new things happening.
Cool, thank you. So welcome everybody to our student life webinar. I just wanted to kind of give a plug here. If you follow us on Instagram, we have kind of different sessions going on weekly to introduce different themes that usually we would do at conference. But essentially this week you have a chance to win a $25 Uber gift card, which means that you can just order whatever you want to your house. So please just check that out on our social media and enter for a chance to win. The contest does close tomorrow at 10 a.m. So yeah, go ahead and give our social media a follow if you don't already. But yeah. So I'm just going to quickly introduce the McMaster Student Union, which stands for the MSU. The MSU is a student organization that represents over 24,000 students. It's comprised of all undergraduate students enrolled in 18 units or more. So if you're a full-time student, the MSU already represents you. It runs over 36 business units and services to help enhance student life. So on campus, there's a lot of different stores that are run by the MSU. And right now there's different services that will all function online, just like the fall semester. So Horizons is one of those services, which I'll explain a little bit more on the next slide. So Horizons is usually a leadership conference that takes place at the end of July on campus. So students usually get a chance to come on campus and have that on-campus experience in one of their residences. However, due to current climate of COVID-19, obviously in-person conference had to be canceled for this year. However, we're still very dedicated to helping make this transition as smooth as it can possibly be during this time. So we've kind of done alternative programming, which includes kind of like our webinar series. So how it works is we'll invite different guests every week, and we'll cover different topics such as, how to study, how to get involved, even though, things are online and looking a little bit different. So make sure you follow us on our social media, and every Monday we'll kind of post the different topics of the webinar, and then you'll get a chance to kind of register like you did for this one, and they will all be recorded and posted on the YouTube channel for you to also go to later if you want any to refer to it.
So before going right into the student life portion of our webinar, we will introduce a little bit of the voices and faces that you'll be seeing throughout the webinar. So I'll start with myself. Hi everyone, my name is Dana. My pronouns are she and her. I'm going into my 4th year of Honors Life Sciences, and I'll be one of the moderators for this webinar.
Hi everyone, my name is Callistra. My pronouns are she and her. I'm going to 3rd year biochemistry, the co-op stream, and I'll be another moderator. And if you have any questions during the webinar, please send them to me.
Hi everyone, so my name is Nagar. Kind of quickly introduce myself. My pronouns are she, her. I'm going to my 4th year of chemical biology co-op, and I will be one of the administrators. So if you have any technical difficulties, feel free to send me a message via the chat function.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophia. My pronouns are she, her. I'm going to my 3rd year of health sci at McMaster, and I'm another one of the administrators. So again, if you have any tech issues, just let us know and we'll try to help you out with that.
So now we'll move on to introducing our panel for today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adam. My pronouns are he and him. I'm working with the Archway project, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. But I'm also a graduate of McMaster back in 2016 from an engineering program. A little bit about me, I love getting outdoors, and I'm trying to do some hiking safely in Hamilton right now, and of course playing lots of video games inside, spending some time baking. And if you need to get in contact, the Archway email and the Archway Instagram are listed down there, but I check those very frequently.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Corbet, and my pronouns are she and her. I am the Orientation and Transition Program Coordinator with the Student Success Center, and I'll be chatting about the Student Success Center with a focus on some orientation programs, as well as some academics. My contact information is there. And what's filling my time during this time of isolation is music, both creating it and listening to it, creating art, and I'm back into biking and touring.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nina. My pronouns are she and her. I'm going into my 4th year of psychology, neuroscience, and behavior within the Faculty of Science. Some things that I'm involved in McMaster, so I will be an Archway mentor in the upcoming program. I'm a tour guide. I am very involved in Welcome Week, Mac Dance as well. And I've been spending my time similarly to Adam. I spend a lot of time outside, going on walks and hikes. I've been doing a lot of baking. I've been perfecting my banana bread and just enjoying some extra family time.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Sarah. My pronouns are she and her. I am going into my 4th year of the nursing program. And some of my involvement, I am currently involved with the Student Health Education Center, which is an MSU service. I've also been very involved with Welcome Week. I've been a Welcome Week rep for the nursing faculty for the past 2 years. I've been a member on our Student Representative Assembly. I've also been a Spark team leader, and I'm on our Nursing Faculty Society, and I'll also be an Archway mentor, so that'll be fun. Some of my hobbies, I love reading and journaling, and I'm also getting into Animal Crossing, but my favorite thing is I am recently an aunt, so that's been really great.
So thank you for all of our wonderful panelists for introducing yourselves. Sarah, the ant thing was really cute. So actually, we can give you a little bit of an overview of what our webinar will look like today. So we will have Adam start off by talking about the Archway program and introducing that to all of you. And then we'll have Michelle talking about the Student Center, which is an amazing resource that we have here at Mac. We'll have Nina talking about living off campus, as well as Sarah discussing commuting. So we can get right into it. So Adam can start us off by talking about the Archway program.
Perfect. So we'll start by talking about what the Archway program is. Hopefully by this point, you're all a little bit familiar and you've heard of the Archway program because you all would have received an email about it in early June. But essentially the Archway program is a new support team at McMaster. And the goal for us is to work with every single incoming first-year student from the day that you're accepted all the way up until the end of your first year. So we've started this program primarily as a response to COVID-19. And when we started talking about the program back in March, we had no idea what the fall term would look like or what the winter term would look like. And we understand that for grade 12 students, it's a really difficult time to say, I'm going to go to university this year because there's a number of additional stressors beyond just what you would normally be facing in an average grade 12 year. So what we want to do through Archway is make sure that you as a first-year student feel connected and that you feel supported all the way through the summer and into the school year, so that if you have chosen to come to McMaster, that you are getting as close to the McMaster experience as you possibly can, even though we're going to do a lot of it virtually for the first while, at least. So to talk about Archway, we really need to talk about who Archway coaches and Archway mentors are. And the coaches and the mentors are really the heart of what the Archway program is. So Archway coaches are full-time professional staff who work at McMaster in various student support roles. So these are folks who are already working on campus full-time in different areas. So they might work in athletics and recreation, they might work in residence life, but they're helping to dedicate some of their time in their regular day job to supporting the Archway program and supporting you. So through the Archway program, they'll be a part of your community and they'll be really good for checking in with you one-on-one and really providing you with support and resources for anything that you need. And we'll talk a little bit more later about what that support can look like. Archway mentors, on the other hand, like Sarah and Nina, or will be, are part-time student staff who are upper year students at McMaster with lots of leadership experience, as you can see from their intros. So what they're going to be responsible for is more of the community building side. So as upper years, we're hoping that in your communities, they'll be there to provide you with some guidance and to help you navigate what McMaster looks like, but also holding lots of fun events and socials and providing you with opportunities to meet other students who are in the same position you are. Because again, one of the big pieces of McMaster and kind of the McMaster experience as a whole is this feeling of community that we have on campus, and we want to make sure that we translate that as much as possible into a virtual context. So the next part about Archway is your Archway community. For those of you who've been keeping track of your emails and have filled out a survey recently, this was all to get you matched with your Archway community. And your Archway community is a group of peers that we're hoping you'll stay connected to throughout the entire year using Microsoft Teams. So if you're not familiar with Microsoft Teams, that's totally fine. We're going to send you some more information in the coming weeks about what that looks like. But essentially, it's a chat platform that every student at McMaster has free access to. So we're using that so that you can stay connected to other students in the most accessible manner possible. So your Archway community will have somewhere around 30 to 40 other students alongside you. And there'll be one Archway coach and one Archway mentor, who again is that upper year student leader who's there to kind of be a friendly face throughout the whole process. So for those of you who filled out your surveys, you will be matched in your communities based on whatever top theme you indicated that you were most interested in. And really what we're treating these themes is like an easy conversation starter. We will do some stuff related to your theme throughout the year. If you're in a gaming community, for example, we'll almost definitely have virtual game nights, but at the same time, not every single thing in your community will be focused around your theme. We're just using it as a launching point for you to get to know other people in an easy manner. And this is something similar to what we would do if you were starting or you've first come to campus in August during Welcome Week. We provide a lot of opportunities for you to get to know other people in a quick and easy way. So I talked a little bit about events and socials. So in your Archway communities, we are going to have a lot of events and socials, and we're doing these primarily so that it's a fun opportunity for you to meet other people. Again, really, that's what this whole program is based around, is supporting you and making sure you feel connected. The goal with all of these events and socials is that they're all going to be done virtually. And of course, part of this is in response to COVID-19, but at the same time, if the decision is to be on campus for the winter term, we're still going to hold all of these events virtually because certain folks may be living at home, they may not be able to access campus. We know that it's definitely a weird year for everybody, and we want to make sure that the program stays as accessible as possible. And also as consistent as possible. We want Archway to be a little bit of a constant amidst everything that's kind of changing over the course of this year. Another cool thing about these events and socials is that we actually have a team of student staff who usually work for us over the summer and help by planning Welcome Week for the resident students. They're actually planning a lot of these events and socials right now. So as much as you might be watching me and thinking that I'm a really fun person to hang out with, I can promise you that those student leaders are much more fun than I am. And they're planning a whole bunch of cool opportunities that are, again, designed to get you connected, but also designed to give you whatever that quintessential McMaster experience is. I could list a bunch of those right now, but they wouldn't mean anything to you yet, but you'll hear a lot about them in the next handful of weeks as we move forward. We are also going to have other groups on campus, including different student clubs and cultural groups and faculty societies. They'll all be coming to Archway as well to run special programs for Archway, but also to promote the opportunities they have for first-year students, so that even though your Archway community isn't focused around your faculty, for example, you'll still be provided with a lot of opportunities to meet other students in your program if that's something that you're really interested in doing. The other key piece of the Archway program, besides the community building, is the guided and personalized support. So we talked about coaches and we talked about mentors and how they can help you throughout the year. But really what we're doing with Archway is that we understand that your needs might be different than your best friend's needs. They might be different than somebody in a different program than you. But your needs are really unique to your particular situation and your particular questions. And we want to make sure that we're taking an approach to helping you address your problems or find the resources that you need that's just as unique to your situation, rather than kind of looking at a cookie cutter list and giving you something from there. So we'll talk we'll talk about this a little in the next slide, but really we're there to help you directly if we can, and if not, then we can help you find the best place on campus that can help you. So Archway can help you with all of the big questions. So the more significant things like mental health or feeling really stressed, but also things like financial aid, and if you have to miss classes for some reason. Those are things that can be complicated to navigate around the university, even more so if you can't actually visit campus in the fall. But they can also help you with smaller things, like getting more support with your academic skills, or even just figuring out when the exam period ends. And then we also want Archway to be, again, a way for you to connect with upper years and with the McMaster community. So you can ask kind of random questions as well. Things like, if I was really interested in a certain topic, how would I find a club that's related to that? Or if we're on campus again in the winter, where's the best place to get takeout near campus? Where's the best place to study? And that kind of thing. Because those are the little pieces about student life that you won't necessarily get through your classes or through other things.
I guess before moving on, I do want to mention a few things and also touch on my own personal experience. I remember first year for me coming into university, I think my mentors played a significant role in my ability to buy the right books and just figure out campus in general and figure out first year stuff. So I think when I first heard about the Archway program and a lot of my friends are Archway mentors, I was really excited because I know that for me and for a lot of my friends, mentorship has been a really great resource for us and a really great resource, especially in first year. So it is really exciting that first years also have that opportunity to connect with each other, but also with mentors. A good thing to point out too that you mentioned is that you will be using Microsoft Teams. And that's a great way for first years to also get acquainted with Microsoft Teams, because a lot of classes will be using Teams as well. So that could be a great way to get acquainted with the software. I remember you mentioned the survey that students have to fill out. Is there a deadline on that survey, and can students still fill that survey out?
Yeah, definitely. The survey technically was supposed to be finished by last Sunday, June the 14th or something like that. If you have not filled it out, that's totally fine. It's still open right now, and we're in the process of placing you in your communities. That's really something I'm directly responsible for. So if you haven't filled out your survey and still like to, just go back to your email and find that link, and you can click on it and you can still access it and do that there. If you, for some reason, can't find that email and you really want to fill out that survey, feel free to send Archway an email after this session is over, and we can send you a link to it directly.
Awesome. Is there a final, very strict due date for students to fill out that survey?
I would say ideally by the end of this week. You will still be matched in a group regardless. You just might not be matched in a group based on your interests if you don't fill it out.
Okay, gotcha. So before we move on, do any of our other speakers have anything to add or any questions?
I just wanted to say that I think this program is really great because everything's completely free, and I believe it's going to happen year long regardless of whether winter is in person or not. One question I have was, could you change the theme or topic that you choose in the survey, or is it like a strict like first choice, first serve kind of thing?
Yep, we have the ability to change that around. So if you've already filled out your survey and you're having second thoughts, again, feel free to send us an email and we can help you set on the back end.
Thank you.
One quick note I will say is we've mentioned the Archway mentors for the upper years who are technically part-time student staff. When we started promoting the Archway position to upper year students, a lot of people didn't even know it was a paid position, but just really wanted to help out because they want first years to have the best year possible. So if that's not the most telling thing about the McMaster community in my experience and everybody else's, I don't know what is. So this program, people in this program are really here to help you as best we can. That's really the goal.
Okay, if none of our other speakers have any questions or anything to add, we can move on. Just a reminder that if you do have any questions specific to the Archway program or any questions in general, feel free to message Callistra and we can get to them hopefully in the Q&A function at the end. So I can go off of what Adam said about the McMaster community in general, and like it is a very supportive community, and I heard that before going into McMaster, but definitely as a student going in, I can definitely attest to that. I think part of that is, again, with the resources that we have at the university, and one of the resources is one that we'll talk about next, so that would be the Student Success Center. So we can have Michelle start us off introducing the Student Success Center.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to join you this evening during this webinar. That's a lovely segue because that's true of one of the orientation programs I'll be chatting with you about tonight, and in terms of the commitment that upper year students give back to first year students. It's truly awe-inspiring. I wanted to, be on camera for the introduction, but I am going to turn it off while I move through these slides, and then I'll turn it back on at the end. As I said, it is my pleasure to be here. I represent the Student Success Center. We believe it takes a community, campus community of staff and faculty and student leaders that work together to offer programs and services to support your transition to this new secondary school, and also to what we believe you'll come to think of as your home, a second home. So we are invested in your success, and I will be talking about orientation and transition programs and some of the academics, but the Student Success Center offers so much more. We support you in your transition into McMaster during this time throughout your years, and then for 10 years after your graduation, those services and programs are still available to you. So it's a very long timeline where you are have access to our services and people. So some of the core facilities that are, the core services that I'll speak to at the end include career and employment exploration, international student services, including exchange and abroad programs. We have experiential programs that can help out, round out your classroom experience, and the Max Money Center. I'll talk a little bit about that, but the focus of my conversation tonight will be about orientation programs. So our first one that I want to tell you about is new. We're launching this summer, called MAC 101, an Introduction to University Life. So we're excited to launch this. It begins on July 15th and concludes on Monday, July 20th, where students and parents and guardians are invited to take part in a series of introductory seminars, sessions, panel discussions, and online community building, and it finishes with a virtual student services fair. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the details. So next slide, please. So on Wednesday, July 15th, just in about a month, each day is themed. So we'll have an academic skills development or learning online and learning platforms and tools to strengthen your skills and feel that when you start classes that you've really got a handle on the platforms, so such as Mosaic, Avenue to Learn, Microsoft Teams, to name a few. But you'll also be introduced to our academic skills coordinators, Mary McCaffrey and Jenna Story, at next week's webinar. So I encourage you to come back to that. Thursday, July 16th, you're invited to join student panels, for, discussions, and live Q&As. So our upper year student leaders are eager to share their experiences, their successes, and their lessons learned. You'll meet upper year student leaders who are engaged in a wide range of extracurriculars, from advocating for students, organizing and implementing Welcome Week activities and initiatives, as well as faculty-specific and interest-based clubs. Our Friday, July 17th, will be focused on creating community. So you'll join in a McMaster Community School Spirit Social. And it will be new for us to do this online, but we're very excited about plans for that. Saturday, July 18th is a focus on parents and finances. So we'll be having parent panels, both for international students as well as domestic students, with a live Q&A with senior administrators addressing important topics such as wellness. The Archway program will be represented, important technologies, and McMaster's commitment to equity, inclusivity, and diversity. Following that, there'll be a session on financing your education. So of course you're welcome to that, but we know that that's also an interest of parents. So our staff from our Student Financial Aid and the Max Money Center will be presenting on that. And we conclude on Monday, July 20th, where there will be a virtual student services fair. All of these programs are online and free. More information will be coming for registering for this. You'll be receiving emails and you'll see it on our social media. Next slide, please. So I mentioned Welcome Week. So we are looking forward to welcoming you, the class of 2024, beginning on Monday, August 31st, through to Wednesday, September 9th. We have hundreds, almost 1,000 Welcome Week reps who are busy working on what we know is a unique and will be a memorable student experience that's focused on learning, support, and community building. So we work together as a team to present a Welcome Week that, as I say, will be memorable and unique. We also have some themes in Welcome Week that are important to us to introduce. So we promote mental health and well-being, and all of our themes are integrated into our programming. So there's also a focus on responsible substance use and the prevention and response to sexual violence. So Welcome Week is designed for, to ensure that you make connections not only to the university, but to each other, and that you begin to develop a sense of belonging to McMaster, to your faculty, and to your Archway cohort. Registration for Welcome Week will begin in early July, and you'll register for your MacPass and then begin to learn more about what's planned for Welcome Week. Next slide, please. A new series this summer is called What I Wish I Knew. So two students, Chantel and Chelsea, take over our Instagram account on Mondays between 9 and 4. And they are featuring programs and people and stories of things that people wish they had known coming into McMaster. Some of the topics that they've already addressed have been clubs and community, academics, finances, health and wellness. So feel free to, if you haven't joined us on Instagram, to record that, our handle, and join us on Mondays between 9 and 4. Moving on. I mentioned that you'll be meeting Mary McCaffrey and Jenna Story at next week's, but they did ask me to chat a little bit about the academic skills, sort of ongoing programs that are really exciting to support you through the summer and throughout your first year and beyond. So there is academic coaching. We have academic coaches, so those are upper year student leaders that help you build academic and personal management skills. There's an undergraduate writing center where you can get help with your assignments. There's an undergraduate peer tutoring network where you can connect with students who are tutors, and there's a small fee to that. And then throughout the year, we have workshops, developing skills, and those cover a wide range of topics that might be note-taking or reading academic articles, speaking to a professor. And 2 programs this summer that I want to highlight that Mary and Jenna will speak more about is the Academic Skills Prep Series. That's on the next slide. So beginning July 4th through to August 14th, there's a free online program to help you build your skills. Weekly themes include being a university learner, note-taking, time management, reading, writing, studying. And each week there is a blog, a webinar, and instructor Q&As. And again, there are prizes and incentives, so please follow us on Instagram. The next summer program that you'll be interested in is the Summer Writing Program, beginning July 20th through to the 31st. And it will be on Avenue to Learn, which you'll learn about at MAC 101. It's a program that will help you improve your research and writing skills. Registration is limited, and students in social science and humanities will be given priority. Students finishing this program will receive a $100 gift card to the McMaster's campus store. And I encourage you to check out our website, which is launching tomorrow in a new format. So please check us out, and there'll be registration information about how to register for that particular program. So those are some orientation and academic programs this summer that I encourage you to check out and begin preparing for the start of classes in September. The Student Success Center has much more than these programs, and I'm going to just highlight our careers and employment. So there's an opportunity for you to start exploring your career. It's beginning as a student at MAC, but there's a wonderful range of staff who will offer career counseling and advising, help you with job search strategies. So, building your resume, writing a cover letter, preparing for an interview. We host career and future education fairs throughout the year, and those will be online. And we also offer opportunities for experiential learning and volunteering. Next slide. We also support international students through our international student services. So we have a range of mentors, international students who are also mentoring incoming international students. McMaster Global, which encourages all to become global citizens, and it offers international co-ops, internships and practicums, academic placements and field trips, and research projects. And in your second and third year, you might be interested in studying abroad. So I encourage you to check out our exchange and study abroad program. There is, on the website, there are stories from abroad, like so students who have studied abroad and come back and written about their experience. Really fun and inspiring stories. Next slide. And our Max Money Center. So that's a focus on financial wellness. So where you can get your finance and money related questions answered. There's a focus on building capacity around money management skills. And it offers resources and services for building your knowledge and skills. We have a Max Money Coach, somebody that you can meet with one-on-one for coaching around finances and money management. And throughout the year, Max Money Center offers workshops and webinars on building financial capacity. And that's the Student Success Center in a nutshell. Please stay in touch. We are physically located in Gilmore Hall, which is attached to the Student Center. And we know that as soon as it's safe and possible, we'll welcome you into our space where you can come and meet people and study. We're available by phone, obviously. We are all at home working, so we are open, during business hours. And as I say, we're working from home. Our website is there. It launches tomorrow in a new format. Our Facebook, our Instagram, and Twitter are all there. Thank you.
Michelle, thank you for that introduction to the Student Success Center. Before moving on, do any of our speakers have anything to add or any questions? If I actually have a question myself, I know that for me, kind of with school closing down and everything going into an online format, I was always curious about if the same resources were going to be offered to me. So for instance, all the career resources that the Student Success Center usually offers, are they still offered in an online format?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are. So there have been webinars throughout the summer. One of the programs, the career planning group, that was an in-house. I really encourage first-year students to consider joining this career planning group. It's just a chance to start a conversation in a really, really comfortable format about careers, the kinds of things that you're drawn to or you're not drawn to, can help you refine like your studies. It can help define, where you might want to get some experiential experience to complement your academics. And Carrie Latham is one of our career counselors, and she's available just like all of us. We're at home and working from our offices in our houses or our dining room tables. And I don't have the answer right now, but I believe that that's a program that will continue through the academic year. It has been offered on Saturday mornings so that it doesn't conflict with classes.
Amazing. I know that you mentioned registration throughout your presentation as well, but if I was a first-year student and I wanted to maybe sign up for one of these different resources or learn more about them, is going to the website, for instance, the best way to do that?
There will be some registration from the website, but we also communicate with students weekly through the year. So you'll be getting weekly emails with a highlight, like it'll be highlighting the MacPass one week and Mac 101 another week. And within those emails will be links to Oscar Plus. So we have another platform where you'll be registering for many of our programs on something called Oscar Plus. But you'll get yourself set up, and you need to use your Mac email address in order to register for, your MacPass and other programs from the Student Success Center.
Thank you. Do any of our speakers have anything to add or any questions?
Yeah, actually, for anyone interested in these programs, registration for Oscar Plus might be a little confusing, so we will have a webinar next week that covers how to do that as well.
Great.
And as Michelle mentioned, we will also have some other SSC representatives also coming to our webinar next week to talk a little bit more about an academic focus and how to study in university. So stay tuned for that as well if you want. Okay. So if none of our speakers have any other questions, we can move on to our next panel. So I guess shifting the focus from kind of resources that are available, I know that for me in first year, I lived on campus, and that's not really available for first years right now. So I feel like some students might be a little bit confused, and you might be wondering, well, what are some different ways for me to still have access to campus? So that would be, for example, living off campus or commuting. If we're hoping to kind of speak more about that, and if it helps you, but yeah. So our next speaker is going to be Nina. She's going to be talking about her experience living off campus.
Awesome. So as Dana mentioned, we're going to be talking about living off campus. So living off campus is when you're in a student house or apartment that's close to campus somewhere in Hamilton. So Sarah later will be talking about commuting, which will be traveling from home to school. But living off campus is when you're in the city of Hamilton and then going to school that way. So whether you're looking to live in Hamilton for the coming fall semester or eventually will be looking for a place to live in Hamilton once school resumes in person, we want to kind of give you some resources and tips to help you in your search to find your house. So a lot of the information that I will be talking about is really nicely laid out on the off-campus housing website. But a lot of it's really important, so we'll talk about it. But I do kind of want to start with what is the experience like living off campus, because that's something that is a little harder to get off of a website. So I've been living in a house, student house outside of off campus for the past 2 years. So hopefully my experience, I'll tell you a little bit about what I've enjoyed about living off campus, and you can see kind of if it fits for you. So living off campus is definitely a learning process in the beginning, because you kind of have to learn how to balance your schoolwork and your social life, with the lifestyle aspects of living on your own. So grocery shopping, cooking, laundry, cleaning, things like that. It could take a little while to figure out how to integrate those added responsibilities into your daily schedule. But living on your own does give you so much freedom and independence to kind of explore a new way of living. The layout of a student house or an apartment is really awesome because you get the experience of living with friends or living with peers, but still having the privacy of your own room. So you can kind of like have your own space to kind of do what you need to take care of yourself. And having your own space also doubles as a private and quiet place to study, which can be really nice. One of the things that I really love about off campus, I love to cook. So the opportunity to cook for myself is something that's been really fun to kind of learn and explore while living on my own. But also off campus, you get a lot of opportunities to try all the amazing restaurants around campus as well. So living with peers is a really fun opportunity. It doesn't mean that it is the best way to go through university. Commuting is amazing as well, and Sarah will talk about all the great things about commuting as well. But it is a fun way to kind of learn how to adult, maybe to use that term, to kind of learn how to start living on your own. So next we'll start to talk about how it is that you actually go about finding a house. So there's 3 main ways that you find a house. The first one is using the McMaster Available Properties page. So this is like an official McMaster website where landlords can post properties that they have available for you to rent. So the picture on the right side of the screen is a picture of what that website looks like. So when you go on the website, you'll see a bunch of different postings that show pictures of houses, the address, how much the rent is, how many bedrooms there are, and all different kinds of things like that. And the great thing about the website as well is that you can sort the postings in order to find exactly what kind of house you're looking for. So you can say, okay, I want to be this close to campus in this price range, and it'll give you houses to look at that kind of fit what you're looking for. So then once you go through all of the postings and find houses that you're interested in viewing, the website will give you the contact information of the landlord. So then you can make an appointment with the landlord to then go meet the landlord and view the house. The second way that you can find a house is through the McMaster Student Housing Facebook page. So if you just search that title into Facebook, you can join the group and see all of that way. So the difference between the MAC website and the Facebook group is both landlords and student tenants can post house advertisements on the Facebook page, while on the website, they'll just be postings from landlords. So the Facebook page gives students the options to add the option to advertise their house as well. So it's just used as like a different outlet to advertise houses, but another cool use of the Facebook page is for current tenants to find themselves a compatible housemate to fill an open room in their house. So often you'll see a post like, looking for a quiet girl to fill a vacant room in our house of 5 girls or something like that. So the current tenants can find someone that is compatible with their lifestyle that would fit very well in their house. So you kind of learn the logistics about the house from the current tenant, who will then send the landlord's information. You can set up a meeting to go and view the house as well. So both the Facebook page and the website are legit ways to find a house. They're both really helpful and easy ways to find a house. I looked at postings for both of them and then picked the ones that I found were the most interesting and viewed them from there. So both of them are a great way to find yourself a house. And the last way to find yourself a house is to sublet. So subletting is when you lease a room from somebody who is already renting that room. So you're renting out someone's room for a portion of their contract instead of actually like signing a new lease with the landlord yourself. So this will be kind of big in the current climate that we're in right now, because many current students are already in a full year lease. But because the semester is online, some are choosing to remain at home rather than go back to Hamilton for the semester, but they're still in their lease, so they still have to pay rent. So a lot of students are attempting to sublet their room, so then the sublet can then come in and sign a lease with the person who is already leasing that room, and in essence kind of take over their lease for the remainder of, say, the semester, if that's what they're looking for. You then pay, the person who is subletting the room will pay the original tenant the price of their rent in order to stay in their room. So if any of you are hoping to move to Hamilton for the upcoming semester, subletting is probably your best option. Normally, house hunting starts in about January for a May start of the lease. So the leases normally go from May to May, and since we're kind of in the middle of that, it may be a little difficult to find yourself your own lease, but I can promise there are a lot of up-and-year students that are willing to sublet their room for the semester. So if you're looking to be in Hamilton for the fall semester, subletting is likely the way to go. So moving on to just some tips that I think are really helpful in your search to find a house. So the first thing to definitely do is to keep a log of all of the houses that you're looking at. So the table that you see on the slide is the table that I made when I was looking for houses. So by having a big chart that kind of compares all of the houses that you're looking at, you can really compare them against each other and figure out what is the most ideal house for you, and then go from there. My next tip is to make a checklist of everything that you want to ask the landlord or learn about while you are viewing the house. There's a lot of things that you need to consider before you sign a lease. And you don't want to forget any of them in kind of the heat of the moment when you're in the meeting. So all the things that you want to learn about, make a list of them so that when you're in the meeting, you can remember to ask the landlord. The link that I have there is a checklist that is made by McMaster. It's a little bit extensive, but it definitely gives some starting points of things to think about that are important to consider before you sign a lease. Another tip to consider while you're actually viewing a house is take pictures while you're there so you remember what the room in the house looks like for when you decide which house to pick. While you're viewing houses as well, if it's at all possible, talk to the current tenants, ask them questions, ask what it's like to live there, kind of get a feel of the place from the people who have actually been living there, not just the landlord that owns it. You can often get a good feel of kind of what it will be like to live there by talking to the current tenants. And finally, learn about a lease before you sign one. So I know that signing a legal document can be a little intimidating, especially as a first or second year. So by researching and kind of reading about what's in a lease, what can you expect to see in a lease, then when you go in and actually are given your lease, you know how to understand it and digest it a little bit more. So it's less daunting and you feel more comfortable signing it because you kind of know what's there. The off-campus housing website has a bunch of really awesome resources that kind of explain what your tenant rights are, how what the different parts of a lease mean. I know that they often have, there'll be some sort of probably webinar since we're online that will teach you how to read a lease, so definitely look out for that. So another tip to keep in mind while you're house hunting is the location. So the map that I have included is the map of the McMaster area, the little red dot in the center, that's campus. So when you're looking for houses, you want to consider how close you want to be from campus, how close you are to grocery stores or the bus routes. So for off-campus housing, there's kind of two neighborhoods that people live in. So on the left side of campus, the left side of the red dot, you see Ainsleywood. So there's also Ainsleywood North and East around it as well on the left side. And then on the right side of campus, we have Westdale, which includes Westdale North and Westdale South. So those are the two neighborhoods near campus where a large majority of off-campus students live. So that will probably be the areas that you will start your search to kind of look there. I've included on the map the two most convenient grocery stores to the McMaster area. So Food Basics is kind of in the middle of Westdale, and Fortino's is in the middle of Ainsleywood. So keep in mind how close you are, or how to make your grocery trips a little bit more convenient as well. And the pink lines that I've drawn on the graph, or the map, not the graph, are the bus routes around campus. So you get a free bus pass with your tuition, and a farther away house can be a little more attractive. If you're right in a bus route, you can just easily hop on a bus and get to campus. So those are the three like location proximity things that I would definitely keep in mind when you're house hunting. And finally, one other tip, so you can figure out kind of what it is you want your house to be like, where you want to be, but you also want to consider who you want to live with. So there are a few ways to find yourself housemates. So there is a Facebook page and an Instagram page for the incoming class of 2024. So if any of you don't know about it yet, it's pretty easy to find. Just search like McMaster Class of 2024 on either of them and join them. In both of those groups, I know specifically this year on the Instagram page, you can post a picture of yourself with like a little bio describing yourself. So you can scroll through those and maybe start talking to a few people and find some people that you think you'd be compatible with and eventually would want to live with. Same with things like your Archway community or faculty clubs that kind of continue throughout the year, people that you kind of make a connection with and a friendship with throughout the year and you think would be compatible. You can then kind of move forward with the house hunting process together. The biggest thing I think to keep in mind when you're house hunting is to be true to yourself. You know what environment you work well in. You know what environment you want to live in. Don't sacrifice what is best for you to live with someone else or for this, that, or any other excuse. Be true to what you know that you can succeed in and find that environment for yourself. When you are meeting with potential housemates, you kind of want to see if you'll be compatible. Some examples of things that you can talk about. So what are like the expected noise levels, like playing music out loud, things like that. What are the expectations for guests that are going to enter the house? The cleanliness expectations of common spaces like your living room or your kitchen, those are big things to talk about, and lifestyle differences. So like, are you more quiet? Do you like to go out? Different things like that. Those are all very important things to discuss with your housemate before you decide to live with them for a year. And lastly, it's important to know that it's okay after a year if you decide that, you know what, this housing situation is just not working for me. I am not compatible as much as I thought I was going to be with these people, or I'm too far from campus, or whatever the reason is. It's okay to say, you know what, this was great, but I'm going to move and find a different environment for next year. So don't be afraid to put yourself, your well-being, your mental health, and your schoolwork above everything to make sure you have the best experience living off campus.
Thanks, Nina. Do any of our speakers have any questions, or does anybody want to talk about their own off-campus experience before we move on? I personally didn't live off campus, but I definitely have a lot of friends that have lived off campus. And I think the last point you mentioned about it's okay to move if your housing situation isn't kind of giving you all that you need. I think that's important to stress, is that your self-care is very important. And if you do need to move or find a different house, or if something else works better for you, that's definitely something that you should advocate for yourself. If none of our speakers have anything else to add, and remember, if you have any questions, feel free to message them to Callistra, because we will have our Q&A session coming up. So we can move on to commuting. So we'll have Sarah talk a little bit about commuting to McMaster.
Awesome, thank you. So this is just a little bit of an overview of what I'm going to be talking about, so we can honestly just skip past this. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about commuting is kind of debunking some commuting myths and misconceptions. So these are some things that I would hear kind of going into my first year, or things that I was worried about, and I was proven wrong very quickly. So the first one was that everyone lives on residence or in student housing. This is really not the case. McMaster is a big commuter school, pretty much because of where it's located. And you'll have students that are commuting from all over, near and far. Another common misconception, or something that people always tell you, is like, oh, you're missing out, or you're not getting the proper university experience. And again, that's like totally not true, because there's really no like singular or correct way to experience university. And I promise you that your experience will be like so fulfilling and will be so meaningful because of so many other reasons. So don't worry about that. I've never felt like I've missed out on anything. And the last one is that it's harder to meet people if you commute to campus. And that is also definitely not true. So McMaster is a really big school. We have over 20,000 students, and you will find so many different ways to meet people. So you'll meet people through the Archway program, through a lot of different like Welcome Week programming. You'll meet people through your program. You'll meet other commuters. Fun fact, some of my like closest friends throughout university, I met through like one of those Facebook group chats that like everyone joins at the beginning, and we're like all still really good friends. So the people that you meet through like online formats, you will actually become really, really good friends with. So the next thing I wanted to talk about are some commuting resources and must-haves. So the first thing is, if you are taking the bus, you will 100% need your good friend, the Presto card. You can get your Presto card in a number of different ways, and you're also going to need to load money to that Presto card. So you can do that online. There is now an app. You can do that on campus in the Student Center at this place called Compass. You can also now do it at Shoppers Drug Mart, and there's also like little Presto terminals that you can find at any like any Go station, or there's even a few on McMaster's campus. The one thing is, if you do it online, it does take 24 hours for the funds to actually like show up on your card. So a good tip is just to have auto load set up on your card, and it will definitely like save you, because there's been times where I've tried to get on the bus and I could not. So definitely just do that and like save yourself the hassle. The other important thing to know is where you can find your schedules. So you can find it on the Go Transit website. There's also a number of different apps that you can use. Personally, I just use Google Maps. That works for me, but it's kind of all about like preference. And if you are someone that's going to be driving to school, then you maybe will want to look into parking on campus. So if you go to parking.mcmaster.ca, you can see how much rates are for getting like a pass, or just like daily rates are on there as well. And then some other like useful things that have worked for me. Getting a locker on campus has been super helpful for when you have like really long days and there's a lot of different buildings where you can like get a locker. So it's just kind of like what program you're in, what works for you is like maybe the building you'll want to get your locker in. Another thing that's so nice is that there's actually like a napping lounge. Hopefully that will be open. And that's really great if you just want to nap after a long day. There's also an MSU service called SWAT, and those are students that will actually help, that will walk you home if it's like late at night. So that's kind of nice for just like a little bit of safety if you like feel uncomfortable walking home. And another useful thing is to know where there are microwaves on campus. There's a lot of different places. Sadly, there's no fridges though, so you kind of have to like work around that. And then now we'll be talking about your first commute and some bus etiquette. And this is stuff that I've had to learn through like trial and error that nobody really like thought to tell me. So hopefully this is helpful in some way. So the first thing and most important is knowing what bus number you're getting on and like where to wait. So you can just kind of like find that ahead of time online. Another one is trying to arrive a little bit early before your bus is supposed to come. And that's like how early is really dependent on what time of day it is. So if it's like early morning, like 8:30, 9:30, and you're trying to get to campus, sometimes it's better to take like the earlier bus because of traffic time. And then leaving campus is usually super busy at like 5:30, so rush hour. And also I find that it gets busy at like 8 or 9 p.m. So it's good to get there like a bit earlier so you actually can get on the bus. Another thing that maybe was like obvious to everyone except me is that everyone is supposed to get off before you can like get on the bus. So it's just like little etiquette like that. And then requesting stops isn't necessary on the GO bus at like the major stops, which will be GO stations or carpool lots. You don't need to like press a little button. But you do need to request a stop if you're getting off on like a street stop. And there will be a screen on the GO bus that like tells you the stops that are coming up. So it's good to like know how to read that. And when you're taking the GO bus, you also want to tap on when you get on, and then you tap off when you are exiting the bus. And that will actually like calculate your fare for the trip. So it's good to know that. And the most important thing is definitely do not hesitate to ask if you aren't sure. Everyone is like so friendly, and I've asked a million questions, and people will ask me questions now. So it always goes like full circle. And then the last thing I wanted to briefly touch upon is some self-care and some other like useful little tips that I've picked up along the way. The first thing is staying connected and getting involved. So I know for me, something I was worried about was feeling disconnected from campus because I knew I wouldn't be like physically on campus every single day. So for me, staying connected was like knowing what was happening on campus. So I did that by following like all the different social medias that I knew would sort of inform me of like things that were happening. And that was really helpful for me. Something else that I've really enjoyed and something that has been like added so much meaning to my experience was getting involved. And a good way to find out how to get involved is if you go on the MSU website, there will be a directory of all of our clubs, and McMaster actually has over 300 clubs. I think we have like the largest clubs department out of all the universities, so go Mac, that's fun. And you can also find out about all the different MSU services that we've sort of mentioned earlier. So that's like a really good resource. And getting involved doesn't necessarily mean like having to volunteer, because that's not like the reality for every single person. Not everyone can like volunteer so many of their hours each week. So like getting involved can mean different things to everyone, and that's like totally okay. Just whatever works for you is okay. Another thing is your time that you spend commuting is definitely not time wasted. You can use that time in so many like valuable ways. So you can get work done on the bus. Me and Dana sometimes take the bus together, and I'll definitely like see her with her laptop. And you'll see people like reading their notes. So it's very common to see. Personally, I just use that time to chill and just like self-care and de-stress. And that's like great for me and my schedule. Another thing is you definitely do not have to share or justify why you commute to anyone unless that's something that like you are totally comfortable doing, because your reasons are completely your own, and that is okay. You don't have to share that with anyone. And the last thing I wanted to mention, and this is something that like I've had to learn over the years, is you don't have to burden yourself to make things easier for other people. Like just because you commute, you don't have to inconvenience yourself just to accommodate for like everyone else around you. It's okay to like share what you need to like help yourself. So, you know, for example, if you're doing a group project and everyone can only like everyone wants to meet on one day where you're not on campus, don't hesitate to be like, hey, maybe can we try another day that works better for me? It's totally okay to like think of yourself and don't do something that is super inconvenient for you. And that is all I had to say about commuting and what that experience is like.
Thank you, Sarah. Do any of our speakers have anything to ask or to add to that? So we can move on. We do recognize that we are going a little bit over the 7 p.m., but we are at our Q&A session right now. Before I get into this next slide, I just want to say thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you for taking the time to share all these amazing resources with us, and I hope that this is really helpful for all the first years. So something exciting is that MSU Horizons is doing a raffle contest. So for a $25 Skip the Dishes gift card, so all you have to do is you have to message Nagar using the chat function with your email and Instagram handle and something you liked or something that we should improve on for this next webinar. So basically that's all you have to do, and then we'll announce the winners by this weekend. So definitely do that. Yeah, we love Skip the Dishes. Okay, so now we'll turn things over to Callistra and we can get into the Q&A session of our webinar.
Hello, so thank you all the speakers for that wonderful presentation. I did have a lot of interest in some of the programs available For example, Archway. I think a lot of people are wondering when that might start, if you have an answer.
Yeah, for sure. So like I mentioned, we're in the process of building out those communities now. I also mentioned that we still have some students who haven't filled out the survey yet, so we're giving them a little bit of extra time to do that because we want to make sure everybody is matched based on their interests as much as we can. So we're aiming to have the Archway communities launched in early July. So probably in the next, I'm really bad with calendars because all the days are blurring together right now. But in the next 2 to 3 weeks or so, what we will be doing through Archway is sending you basically short email newsletters for the next couple of weeks as well to give you some updates on where things stand, because we have been getting some questions from students about, I filled out my survey, what do I do next? The answer to that is there's nothing for you to do next. Just hang tight, and we're piecing things together, and we're hoping to get you in your communities as soon as we can. In the meantime, for all of the support pieces of Archway, if you have questions about course selection or I don't know where to go for XYZ topic, feel free to send us an email because we're doing a lot of those same things that the coaches would be doing in your community, and we're just answering them by email in the meantime. So feel free to reach out to us if you'd like help with anything.
Thank you. Another question concerning SSC's programming is, when would registration for that start?
For the MAC 101?
For MAC 101 and academic skills.
Okay, so I know for MAC 101 and Welcome Week, it'll be the end of this month or early July. So July 1st is a Wednesday this year, and it's in the middle of the week. So we typically launch right after July Canada Day weekend, which is July 1st. The academic programs, you know, I don't have the exact date in my mind, and the new website tomorrow may have it in the section on academic skills. But I mentioned Mary McCaffrey and Dennis Story, my colleagues, will be here a week tonight and speaking on those programs in greater detail, and they'll have that information.
Thank you, Michelle. A question for off-campus housing. Are there a lot of apartments you would recommend close to campus, or would you say there's more houses that are within 10 minutes walking, for example?
So I would say within 10-minute walking distance, I believe the best option would be a student house. There are apartments, correct me if I'm wrong, the West Village Suites, I believe is what they're called. They are, I believe, about a 5 to 10 minute bus ride from campus. They're a little bit farther, but they're beautiful if you're looking more for an apartment rather than a student house. I can add the link to that to the resource page that we'll give to you. So the apartments are slightly farther, but still very accessible to campus. They're right on the bus route. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. You can also have the opportunity, if you'd like to live in downtown Hamilton, which will have some other apartment options as well. It'll be a slightly longer bus ride, but if you'd rather be downtown, that's also an option.
What's really cool about the bus is that it goes right onto campus, and there's a couple of stops right on campus. So they stop like almost, you know, within minutes of walking into your building, where your class is. Mm-hmm.
Also, as a McMaster student, you have a free HSR pass, which is Hamilton's like bus system. So you can go anywhere for Hamilton and for free. So it's a really good idea to put that to use.
I need to add on to this as well. McMaster has a lot more off-campus housing options available, and I'm not too sure, but I think the apartments may be more expensive, so considering it financially would be a good idea as well.
Yeah, the apartments definitely tend to be more expensive. I will also say that compared to some other universities that tend to get a bad reputation for their off-campus housing situation, McMaster actually has a lot of very good off-campus housing options. And they're all fairly close to campus. When I say close, I mean like less than 10 minutes to campus as well. So you're definitely not short on options. It just depends on how choosy you'd like to be.
Okay, and another question for commuting. For parking, Should students apply now, or would it be better to apply next, like when the next semester is announced, whether it's online or in person?
I think it's definitely better to wait. I think I was looking at the parking website earlier today, and I think right now they have suspended like parking passes. So you're definitely going to want to wait for that. And you do have options for like whether you want to do like monthly or pay for like longer periods of time. So I would recommend just like waiting a little bit and then seeing what works best for you.
All right, great. There are some technical questions. I'm not too sure if we can answer this, but if you'd like, you can send us an email or McMaster an email, mainly concerning when Mosaic would be converted to students and how you would activate your Mac ID. I think these might be better addressed if you email McMaster itself.
Those questions, if you send an email to Archway, I can answer those because I've been answering that question a lot over the last week.
Okay, great. And then I guess for the last question is just when would be a good time to look into housing for the winter term? I think Archway is also providing some resources for that. If anyone has any like information or ideas on this.
I would say for winter term, maybe wait a little bit until we have more information about whether school will be in person or not. Because if we're in person, then a lot of the subletting options will not be quite as available. But if we are still online, then there'll be plenty of subletting options available. But once we know a little bit more about like the climate of the coming semester, then you can look into, are there still sublets available? Some landlords may be doing partial year leases because of the weird situation of COVID. So I would wait a little bit until we know a little bit more, because then the current students and the current landlords will know a bit more about the demand of houses.
To build on that as well, for the usual housing cycle, which is students will look for off-campus housing for the following like May or September, starting in like November to January-ish. There are always students every year who don't start looking until like April or until like August. And there's always houses available. You'll certainly have less options because a lot of them will be signed by that point. But even if, I agree with what Nina said, I think you're better off waiting a little bit until we hear more about what the winter term looks like, so you can make a more informed decision. And then if in the event we don't get that information sooner rather than later, you'll still have enough time to find a place to live if you're intent on coming closer to campus for the winter.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Calista, and thank you to everyone for answering those questions. Again, if you have any other questions or if your questions weren't answered, feel free to email us as well. So that kind of segues into our contact information. Adam, you mentioned that a lot of students can send their questions to Archway, and so if students want to take a screenshot of this slide, I would recommend to do that, just because all of our information is right there. But yeah, so I'll just give that a second. Okay, so that concludes our webinar. So thank you for all of our speakers for coming and sharing all these resources, but also thank you all for coming. It's really great that you're kind of taking that initiative to kind of learn more about first year, and hopefully all these resources were really helpful to you. Again, like we mentioned, we are part of a weekly series. So next week we'll be focusing on studying in university. So that would be Thursday, June 25th at 6 p.m. And hopefully some of you will also join us at that webinar. But yeah, so also remember we have that MSU Horizons contest. But yeah, thank you everybody. And also thank you to MAC Alumni Association for sponsoring this webinar. But that concludes our webinar for today. Yeah, you are more than welcome to leave the call if you'd like, but again, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to send them to our email or any of our social media accounts.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you to all of our speakers.
Okay, goodbye. Thank you all for coming.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.